The story of Cassie Howard and Nate Jacobs in the television series Euphoria is not a grand romance but a shared and desperate delusion, a broken pact between two deeply wounded people who mistakenly believe they can save each other from the storms inside their own heads. To understand this, you have to look at where they both come from, the emptiness they carry, and the tragic way they try to fill it with each other's broken pieces. Cassie is a character defined by a profound craving for love and validation. A need so intense it borders on a kind of emotional hunger. She has grown up in a household of chaos and abandonment, watching her father struggle with addiction and leave, and seeing her mother navigate a world of unreliable men. For Cassie, love is not just a feeling, it is a solution, a proof of worth, a way to fix the deep-seated fear that she is somehow not enough. Her entire sense of self is built upon being desired by a boy, any boy, because that desire feels like a temporary bandage on the wound of her father's absence and the instability of her home life. She doesn't just fall in love, she falls into the idea of being loved, attaching herself with a ferocity that is both heartbreaking and self-destructive. Her relationship history is a series of attempts to be someone's perfect girl, molding herself into whatever she thinks will keep the love coming, even if that love is toxic, dismissive, or cruel. Enter Nate Jacobs, who from the outside appears to be everything Cassie's world tells her she should want: popular, physically imposing. From a seemingly stable and wealthy family. But Nate is a cathedral of internal ruin. He is a pressure cooker of suppressed rage, confusion about his sexuality, and a violently twisted understanding of manhood inherited from his father. Nate doesn't know how to love, he knows how to dominate, to control, and to possess. His life is a performance of strength masking a bottomless pit of self-loathing and fear. He sees people not as partners but as objects to be acquired or threats to be neutralized. His relationship with Maddy was a cycle of obsession, manipulation, and abuse. A dynamic where he was both the tormentor and, in his own distorted logic, the protector. When that relationship explodes, he is left floating, his identity as Maddy's boyfriend shattered, and he is just as lost as Cassie is. This is where their delusion begins to co-author itself. For Cassie, Nate represents the ultimate validation. To be chosen by the boy who was with the most confident and formidable girl in school is the ultimate proof, she thinks, of her own value. It is a way to outrun her reputation, to climb the social ladder, and to finally secure a love that feels permanent and powerful. She isn't just seeing Nate, she is seeing a salvation from her own insecurities. She looks at him and sees a prince who can lift her out of her turmoil, completely blind to the fact that he is a storm masquerading as a shelter. Nate, on the other hand, looks at Cassie and sees something entirely different but equally delusional. He doesn't see a complex person, he sees an opportunity. In the wake of his brutal breakup with Maddy, who challenged and mirrored his own intensity, Cassie presents as the opposite, malleable, eager to please, and overflowing with a desperate affection he can easily control. Where Maddy fought back, Cassie will comply. In his mind, saving Cassie is not about loving her, it is about fixing a project, about being the stable, dominant force in her chaotic life. This role allows him to play the hero, a part that helps him ignore his own villainy. By being the one who takes care of her emotional needs, he can construct a narrative where he is not the abusive, angry young man, but a protector. He is saving her from her own instability, from her bad choices, from her family drama. This allows him to feel powerful and morally justified, all while repeating the same patterns of manipulation and secrecy that defined his past. He gives her just enough affection to keep her hooked, just enough tenderness to make the control feel like care. Their affair, conducted in secret and built on lies, becomes a shared fantasy bubble. Inside that bubble, Cassie can believe she is finally loved by the most important boy in school, and Nate can believe he is a good man. A rescuer, rather than the source of further trauma. They are each other's escape from their own painful realities, but it is an escape into a hall of mirrors, where every reflection is a distortion. The tragedy of this delusion is how it inevitably cannibalizes them both. The real world, in the form of their friends, their pasts, and their own unhealed wounds, keeps banging on the walls of their bubble. Cassie's desperation escalates into full-blown mania, she becomes paranoid, hysterical, and willing to betray her closest friend, Maddy, clinging to the relationship with a terrifying grip because to lose Nate would be to lose her entire fabricated sense of self. She isn't fighting for a boy, she is fighting for her survival as she understands it. Nate, meanwhile, finds that controlling Cassie does nothing to quiet the chaos within himself. His anger, his confusion about his father and his own desires, does not disappear. Cassie's neediness becomes a burden, a reminder of the dependency he actually despises in himself. The project of saving her becomes exhausting because she is a person, not a project, and her problems cannot be solved by his dominance. Their relationship, rather than being a mutual salvation, becomes a mutual degradation. Cassie abandons her dignity, her loyalty, and her sanity. Nate simply reaffirms his capacity for cruelty, eventually discarding her in a way that is both callous and predictable. In the end, the delusion shatters because it was built on false premises. You cannot save someone when you yourself are drowning, and you cannot use another person as a life raft without eventually pulling them under with you. Their story is a cautionary tale about mistaking obsession for love and control for care. It shows that the desire to be saved, and to be someone's savior, is often a dangerous path that leads away from true healing. Real salvation comes from within, from facing your own pain and doing the hard work to understand it. Cassie and Nate skipped that work and tried to use each other as a shortcut. They thought their broken pieces would fit together to make a whole, but instead, they just created a bigger, sharper mess. They were not soulmates, they were co-conspirators in a fantasy that left them both more broken than they started. In the quiet moments, perhaps they both sensed the truth that they were not healing each other, but simply hiding in each other's shadows, two lost kids pretending to be each other's hero in a story that was, from the very first secret touch, a tragedy. Their relationship stands as one of the show's most poignant critiques of the stories we tell ourselves about love, revealing that sometimes the most intense connections are not born from health or happiness, but from a shared, desperate need to escape the unbearable weight of being alone with ourselves.